Good afternoon, everyone. I will be discussing the avoidance puzzle. Concluding comments, none of the major theories can explain everything that occurs in aversive conditioning situations. However, each provides ideas that are useful for understanding various aspects of avoidance behavior like two process theory, the safety signal theory, the concept of predatory, and this process theory, two mechanism, classical and instrumental. First, classical conditioning process activated by conditioned stimulus when avoidance not made. CR of fear produced. Two, the negative reinforcement. Ang negative reinforcement theory kay successful ang avoidance removes fear caused by conditioned stimulus. Classical and instrumental conditioning processes are independent, and the avoidance naman escape from fear, not prevention of shock. Mao ni siya ang sa kaning sa two process theory nga experimentation diri sa kuan. Kay di man gud pod ma-explain tanan sa avoidance diri ang kani nga mga theory dili nila jud ma-explain everything, but they can give ideas on how. Pero sa classical condition classical ay no and 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 the safety signal theory is particularly useful in explaining pre-operant avoidance learning and the role of response feedback stimuli in avoidance conditioning. So there is a kind of avoidance learning theoretical approaches kaning safety signals. Safety signals are response produce cues that signal that absence of shock. They in essence become conditioned inhibitors of fear, and they positively reinforce the response that leads to them. Evidence presenting an explicit stimulus following each avoidance response results in the stimulus becoming a conditioned inhibitor of fear. This is explicit stimuli also speed up the rate of avoidance learning. So this theory is a specific class condition, no? A specific class condition of inhibitor. As a result of Pavlovian conditioning, it prevents or reduces the expression of fearful behavior of the organism normally observed in the presence of an excitatory conditioned stimulus that had been paired with aversive unconditioned stimuli. Paragod atong best example ani kanang kuan ba dili na sila naa sila yung mga signs or safety signals para moto sila ilang sundon jud para to avoid harmful things or to, para sa tuwa ha sa mga tao like prohibition signs can't do, mandatory signs must do, danger signs kill you, warning signs hurt you. So these are sa akong mga nasulti sa akong mga na mention mo to sa mga examples sa ning safety signals theory. In the experimental analysis of punishment involved decreasing a behavior in order to measure if you must initially have a baseline of that behavior. Punishments is more attention has been focused on punishment than avoidance. Sa study, according to Thorndike and Skinner, concluded punishment not effective for controlling behavior, only temporary effects. So, diri sa experimental analysis of punishment procedures involved presenting aversive stimuli following specified response. Usually, this results in suppression of the target response. So in real life or therapeutic situation, punishment is used to decrease some maladaptive behavior, self-injurious behavior, drug taking. In the lab, we typically first train the animals to perform a behavior, then introduce punishment to see if it is a process responding. This can make things complicated. Is responding more influenced by reward or punishment? It depends. Skinner post-lap. These are characteristics of aversive stimulus and its method of introduction. Um, and its method, timeout refers to removal of the opportunity to obtain positive reinforcement. Timeout is always used to punish children as when a child is told to sit in a timeout. So mano siya ang example ha. As when a child is told to sit in a timeout chair in the back of the classroom. So the overcorrection there is involves requiring a person not only to rectify what was done badly, but to overcorrect for the mistakes. So dili sa ingon nga ang katong bata gipanisan lang kay tungod kay naay nabuhat nga mali o nabuhat nga di maayo. Gipanisan to siya in order for him or her to correct the her or his mistake pod. Type of stimuli, remember one form of punishment, positive punishment involves presentation of an aversive stimulus. So these are the responses: shock, loud noise, slap, squirt of lemon juice in the mouth. Muna siya ang type of punishment. Ay sa mga paangod sa punish sa iya. In the response, contingent versus response in independent aversive stimulation. Random punishment can suppress responding, especially if intense. Learned helplessness. Typically, however, random punishment is not as effective as contingent punishment. With random punishment, in a rat, you might see some initial decline in responding, but as the animal becomes used to responding tends to increase. Schedule of reinforcement. Sa ato ang effects of delay of punishment no kay the interval between the target response and the aversive stimulus is another critical factor in punishment. Diri molabas ang mga undesired response sa usa ka subject because na kay lahi man ni siya delayed man ang punishment ang naay interval. Sa effects of the schedules of punishment in the Goodall study, punishment was delivered on a FR3 schedule. More systematic studies have shown that the degree of responses suppression produced by punishment depends on the proportion of responses that are punished. This kind of punish is different. Is different. This kind of punish is different. Nakahinamdam mo atong fixed ratio or fixed interval. Murag same lang siya process atong dati na tong natakeld kit about sa mga fixed ratio or fixed interval pero sa kuanto siya sa mga responses to siya pero kani siya response sa punishment. For kani siya for the punishment murag same process siya pero for punishment lang ni pareha aning ako naingon ka is naka-fix na ang schedule sa punishment. Many different types of types of schedule and positive reinforcement. In the most punishment situations, the target response is simultaneously maintained by a schedule of positive reinforcement. Studies show that the effects of punishment depends what serves to reinforce the target behavior. So these are the schedule of reinforcement, no? Many different times, continuous reinforcement, CRF, response schedules ratio, time schedules interval, time schedules, muna siyang interval, and differentiation schedules. Pag ang behavior maintained by either fixed or variable interval, schedule of positive reinforcement punishment produces a decrease in the overall rate of responding. So mo to siya no sa schedule of reinforcement or positive reinforcement. And the availability of alternative responses often punish um, often punish response is the only one to get positive reinforcement. By decreasing responding, subject also decreases reward earned. Conflict between the suppressing behavior to avoid punishment and responding to obtain SR plus. Availability of alternative source of reinforcement greatly increases suppression. So naga-increase ang sa pag-suppress niya. Effects of a discriminative stimulus punishment. This commonly known as a condition in the presence of which reinforcement is a contingent upon a response. And this is a stimulus that predicts reinforcement, whereas other stimuli don't predict reinforcement. Such stimuli are said to control behavior because organisms behave differently in the presence of such stimuli compared to their absence. For example, a child requests to watch TV, and historically, he is granted more screen time when his mom has to get on a conference call for work, but but never when she does not have to take a call. A punishment occurs only in some stimulus conditions and not in others. The suppressive effects of punishment will be most prevalent under those conditions. So, mo to siyang example. Mo lang na siya guys. Thank you Lord. Thank you ma'am.